who's undocumented
It's a really basic question,
Social
and you don't want to
Security.
answer it because you've got a crazy radical open borders agenda. There's no
for the
limit.
benefit of the entire
So an illegal alien comes into our
society.
country, murders or rapes somebody, we ought to rehabilitate them, is your view. And there's no limit to the number of illegal alien criminals we should rehabilitate. Is that your testimony?
I wasn't asked to testify about that, Congressmember. I asked to testify
I'm
about
just clarifying
Plyler.
your
Not sure
your
what
position.
this has to do with
I'm clarifying
Plyler.
your position, which you just attempted to
I think
lay
my
out.
position is quite clear. Thank you.
Okay, how much money should we spend on rehabilitating criminal and illegal aliens? It sounds like. Do you believe that there should be a strict wall of separation between local law enforcement and immigration officials?
Do I believe there should be such a law? Yes, I do.
That there should be a strict wall, to be clear. A strict wall of separation between
All
local law
laws
enforcement.
are strict. I'm not aware of Congress or any legislature passing a lenient law.
It's wall,
versus a strict
W-A-L-L.
law. So
a
law.
strict wall, W-A-L-L.
A wall. I'm sorry, I
sir.
thought you said law.
No.
I apologize.
A strict wall of separation
I
between
think a
local
wall
law
would be incredibly ridiculous. That we have.
What about after serving, let's say they're convicted and they serve a sentence. And this is a criminal and legal alien, they broke into somebody's home, they're convicted, they serve let's say a 5-year sentence. Instead of releasing them onto the street, should local law enforcement or prison officials give them over to immigration officials?
There are too many repercussions of a policy like that. You're putting it in the context of a single instance.
Brandon Gill wasn't letting Thomas Saenz avoid the question. He pressed the MALDEF president on whether local police should cooperate with immigration authorities when undocumented immigrants commit serious crimes, and then challenged his answers on taxpayer-funded benefits.
Mr. Saenz, if somebody crosses the border illegally, what should happen to them?
Federal law indicates that there are steps that can be taken to remove them. Now, that can happen at the border,
So they should
or
be
it can
deported.
happen when they are integrated into society. There are protections once you're integrated into society, especially
But
depending
if they're
on how long.
if we find them crossing into the country illegally, they should be deported. To put it simply, is that right?
If someone does not have a right to enter, yes, there is a right under federal law to interdict them and prevent them from entering.
Right.
That's been a basic element of immigration law for a very long time.
After the hearing, the House Judiciary Subcommittee continued examining whether Plyler should be changed or overturned, with Republicans arguing that the decision has imposed significant costs on schools and taxpayers. The March 18th hearing was formally titled Immigration Policy by Court Order, The Adverse Effects of Plyler versus Doe.
I agree.
Including during Plyler.
I agree. Do you believe that American tax dollars should be used to rehabilitate criminal and illegal aliens within our own borders?
I believe it's in our own interest to rehabilitate anybody who commits a crime.
Including criminal and illegal
If it
aliens who
happens
never should
within
have
our
been
borders, if it happens within our borders, it's to the benefit of all of us to rehabilitate them. Rehabilitation of those who are convicted
How
of
many
criminals is
criminal
not
and
for their own benefit, it's for the benefit of society.
here. How many criminal and illegal aliens should we rehabilitate?
Again, anyone who commits a crime and is convicted of a crime should be rehabilitated
there's no
for the
limit.
benefit of the entire
So an illegal alien comes into our
society.
country, murders or rapes somebody, we ought to rehabilitate them, is your view. And there's no limit to the number of illegal alien criminals we should rehabilitate. Is that your testimony?
I wasn't asked to testify about that, Congressmember. I asked to testify
I'm
about
just clarifying
Plyler.
your
Not sure
your
what
position.
this has to do with
I'm clarifying
Plyler.
your position, which you just
I
attempted to
think
lay
my
out.
position is quite clear. Thank you.
Okay, how much money should we spend on rehabilitating criminal and illegal aliens?
We should spend as much money as necessary to rehabilitate anyone who is convicted of crime in this country. Again,
As much
this
now-
let me just note, Congressmember, has nothing to do with Plyler versus Doe.
No, we're
These are
getting there.
children. These
We're
are
getting
children,
there.
and with
We
an
should-
education,
should we-
they are
sir,
far
we're-
less
we're
likely
getting there, and you're
to
here to
ever
answer my
commit a crime.
questions, actually. Couldn't we just secure the border and deport illegal aliens as opposed to rehabilitating them on our own tax dollars?
So that's too facile, Congressmember, and I think you should understand that. The simple fact is society benefits from rehabilitation. It's not a gift to anyone who's convicted
Society's
of a crime.
paying
It's
for
society.
rehabilitation, it sounds like. Do you believe that there should be a strict wall of separation between local law enforcement and immigration officials?
Do I believe there should be such a law? Yes, I do.
That there should be a strict wall, to be clear. A strict wall of separation between
All
local
laws,
law
all
enforcement.
laws are strict. I'm not aware of Congress or any legislature passing a lenient law.
It's wall,
versus a strict law.
W-A-L-L.
So
A strict
law.
wall,
A
W-A-L-L.
wall. I'm sorry, I
sir.
thought you said law.
No.
I apologize.
A strict
So, no,
wall of separation
I
between
think a
local
wall
law.
would be incredibly ridiculous, frankly.
A wall of separation between local law enforcement and immigration officials.
Oh, a wall of separation. Okay, yes, Congressmember, yes. Again, I do believe there should be a law of separation, and if you want to describe that law metaphorically as a wall,
okay,
I would accept that.
Saenz's position here became part of a much broader immigration policy fight. In his written testimony for the hearing, Saenz defended Plyler as a constitutional protection and argued that denying education to undocumented children would create long-term social and economic costs. His testimony was formally submitted to the House Judiciary Subcommittee on March 18, 2026.
Okay, I was actually using your words where you said there should be a strict wall of no cooperation between local law enforcement and federal immigration authorities. That's something that you had said in an interview with NPR in November of 2016. So if police arrest...
So I've just acknowledged that.
Right.
So
if
not sure why you're putting myself to myself. I'm sure that interview was not about
I'm
Plyler.
the one asking questions here, not you. If police arrest an illegal alien for breaking into somebody's home in the middle of the night, should they turn that illegal alien over to immigration officials?
So Plyler versus Doe guarantees an education.
It's just a yes
and
or no
as a
question.
result, that means that those kids who receive that education are
You
far
don't
less
think
likely
that
to break
if
into
some-
anyone's home, Congressman.
But I'm asking, let's say they do. Should they be turned over to immigration officials? It's just a yes or no question.
No, they should be put through the criminal
They should
law
be put through
system
their-
that we have.
What about after serving, let's say they're convicted and they serve a sentence. And this is a criminal and legal alien, they broke into somebody's home, they're convicted, they serve let's say a 5-year sentence. Instead of releasing them onto the streets, should local law enforcement or prison officials really give them over to immigration officials?
There are too many repercussions of a policy like that. You're putting it in the context of a single instance.
No, it's
very
very
difficult
clear
to answer
that your
question.
answer is no.
No, that's not clear, sir.
Testimony,
That's not clear, sir. Please don't put words in my mouth. You have my words from NPR, and what I say here, you don't need to put words in my mouth.
American taxpayers pay for Medicaid for illegal aliens?
In many circumstances, yes.
They should.
Not just American taxpayers, but immigrant taxpayers who also
American
pay taxes
taxpayers
as well.
pay for Social
As you know,
Security for
sir,
illegal
there is no
aliens?
exception for tax paying based on immigration status.
I'm the one who's asking questions here. Should American taxpayers pay for Social Security for illegal aliens? It's a yes or no question. I think the answer is no.
It's
so I'm
not a
asking
yes
you
or
what you
no
think.
question. It doesn't happen. We don't
I'm
provide
asking
Social
you
Security
should.
benefits
I'm asking you if
to
it should.
undocumented people. I wasn't aware that was a topic of today's
I don't think
hearing.
that should happen, and I'm asking you if you think it should happen.
This is the last question. The witness may answer the question.
I don't believe that that's a question when it doesn't happen. It's misleading to suggest it does. No one who's undocumented
It's a really basic
receives
question,
Social
and you don't want to
Security.
answer it because you've got a crazy radical open borders agenda that we can all see.
In July, the Trump administration finalized a rule rescinding the Biden-era public charge regulation, giving immigration officers broader authority to consider an applicant's use of public benefits when determining whether that person is likely to become a public charge. USCIS then issued updated guidance on August 18th explaining how those determinations will be made, with the new rule scheduled to take effect September 18th. The administration has also continued pursuing broader immigration restrictions while facing significant court challenges. On June 30th, the Supreme Court ruled in Trump v. Barber that the administration's attempt to restrict birthright citizenship through Executive Order 14160 was unconstitutional. And in August, a federal judge struck down the administration's suspension of visa processing for nationals of 75 countries, finding the policy contrary to law. These developments underscore the larger fight over how far the executive branch can go in reshaping immigration policy and what role the courts should play. That backdrop makes Representative Brandon Gill's confrontation with Thomas Saenz particularly significant. The March 18th House Judiciary hearing was specifically devoted to Plyler v. Doe, the 1982 Supreme Court decision that requires states to provide public K-12 education to children regardless of immigration status. Saenz, President and General Counsel of MALDEF, defended the decision and argued that it is fundamentally an education policy issue rather than simply an immigration policy issue. Gill approached the issue from the opposite direction. His questioning focused on what he portrayed as the consequences of illegal immigration for taxpayers and public institutions. He began by asking Saenz what should happen when someone crosses the border illegally. Saenz acknowledged that federal law permits the government to prevent unlawful entry and remove people who have no legal right to enter. But he also emphasized that once people are living within the country, other legal protections can apply. Gill then moved aggressively toward criminal conduct. He asked whether American taxpayers should pay to rehabilitate undocumented immigrants convicted of crimes. Saenz's answer was that rehabilitation benefits society as a whole. His argument was that rehabilitation is not simply a benefit given to the offender. Reducing the likelihood that someone will commit another crime protects everyone. Gill repeatedly pressed the point with increasingly extreme hypotheticals. What if an undocumented immigrant murdered someone or committed rape? Should taxpayers still pay for rehabilitation? Saenz maintained that anyone convicted of a crime should be subject to the criminal justice system and that rehabilitation serves a broader public interest. Gill clearly wanted to establish a different principle. If someone entered the country illegally and then committed a serious crime, shouldn't immigration authorities remove that person rather than spending additional taxpayer money rehabilitating them? The witness refused to accept the premise that rehabilitation and immigration enforcement were mutually exclusive. That distinction became important because Saenz was not testifying about a general immigration enforcement bill. He was defending the constitutional principle behind Plyler versus Doe. Gill then shifted to the relationship between local police and federal immigration authorities. He asked Saenz whether there should be a strict wall of separation between local law enforcement and federal immigration officials. Saenz said he supported such a separation, although he objected to describing it literally as a wall. Gill reminded him that Saenz had previously used similar language in a 2016 NPR interview, saying there should be no cooperation between local law enforcement and federal immigration authorities. Gill then presented a hypothetical. If local police arrest an undocumented immigrant for breaking into someone's home, should the person be turned over to immigration authorities? Saenz repeatedly redirected the discussion toward the criminal justice system. His position was that the individual should first face the criminal process rather than treating immigration status as a substitute for criminal adjudication. Gill was clearly dissatisfied. He then asked whether someone who served a 5-year prison sentence for burglary should subsequently be transferred to immigration authorities. Saenz warned that such a policy could have numerous consequences and resisted giving Gill the simple yes or no answer he wanted. That frustration eventually boiled over. Gill told Saenz that his answer was obvious. Saenz immediately objected. He told Gill not to put words in his mouth and argued that Gill already had his actual statements and did not need to manufacture an answer. The confrontation then moved to taxpayer-funded benefits. Gill asked whether American taxpayers should pay for Medicaid for undocumented immigrants. Saenz responded that in some circumstances they should, while emphasizing that immigrant taxpayers also contribute to the system. Gill then asked about Social Security. Saenz said undocumented immigrants do not receive Social Security benefits under current law and rejected the premise that the question represented something that actually happens. That exchange reveals one of the central problems with the hearing. Gill was trying to frame the debate around a broader question. How much should American taxpayers be expected to spend on people who are unlawfully present in the country? Saenz was answering a different question. What policies actually make American communities safer and more successful once people are already living here? Those are related questions, but they are not identical. The Plyler issue is especially important because Saenz's defense is not simply that undocumented children deserve public education as a matter of generosity. His testimony argues that excluding children from school would create a larger social problem by producing an undereducated population. MALDEF's written testimony points out that even conservative justices who dissented from Plyler agreed that denying children education was bad public policy. Gill's argument, however, is that constitutional protections for children should not be allowed to become a mechanism for ignoring the underlying immigration problem. That is the tension at the heart of this exchange. And the issue remains highly relevant because the administration continues to pursue policies designed to reduce reliance on taxpayer-funded benefits and tighten immigration enforcement. The new public charge rule is a particularly important example. Beginning September 18th, USCIS will operate under the administration's revised framework for evaluating whether certain immigrants seeking permanent residence are likely to become public charges. At the same time, the courts continue to place limits on executive immigration policy. The Supreme Court's June ruling on birthright citizenship and the August ruling blocking the 75-country visa processing suspension demonstrate that immigration policy remains a constitutional battleground rather than an issue that can simply be settled by executive order. That is why this exchange between Gill and Saenz goes beyond one heated congressional questioning. Gill's position is essentially that a legal entry should have meaningful consequences, immigration enforcement should cooperate with local law enforcement, and taxpayers should not be required to subsidize policies that encourage unlawful immigration. Saenz's position is that children should not be punished for their parents' immigration status. Rehabilitation protects society, and separating local police from immigration enforcement can preserve trust between immigrant communities and law enforcement. Both sides are ultimately arguing about what government owes the public and where those obligations should stop. Gill's final accusation that Saenz represents a radical open borders agenda was therefore less a factual conclusion from the testimony than a political characterization of the disagreement. Saenz had actually acknowledged that people who have no legal right to enter the country can be prevented from entering and can be removed under federal law. The real dispute was over what happens after people are already inside the country, particularly children, criminal defendants, and people interacting with local institutions. And that leaves the central question raised by the hearing. Should immigration enforcement take priority even when it conflicts with local law enforcement practices and public services? Or does protecting children and maintaining community institutions ultimately make America safer, even when the people receiving those protections entered the country illegally?